evening. I'm very happy that a lot of business got done today. It was a very important business and it had to get done. And I'm happy for my brothers in the PBA, DAI, and SOA, and also CSCA. But there are problems that are still occurring in this county, which we were prepared to speak about earlier. But it seems like they're not going away. As everyone knows, there's an inmate suicide on February 24th. Correctional officers were forced to perform CPR for 25 minutes while they were waiting for an ambulance. They performed it, not the private medical care that County Executive Mangano was touting as saving $6 million. Correctional officers performed CPR for 25 minutes while they're waiting for an ambulance. We have a lot of issues with the medical care inside that facility. Just last week on the 9th, there was an inmate medical emergency inside the jail. It was on the upper tier of the satellite area. There was a nurse on scene at the time dispensing medication. She refused to go upstairs to take care of the problem with the inmate. 10 minutes later, there was another medical emergency signal put out. They responded with more additional nurses. The officers were forced, on the advice of the nurse, to carry the inmate down in a blanket, like it was a third world country, because they responded with no appropriate medical care and tools. There was no stretcher. They came with a wheelchair. A couple days later, there was an inmate, 6 foot, 340 pounds. It's a big man. The nurse was afraid to go down the tier to handle that issue. The officers, we wound up going over to the hospital. It was a 3-man hospital run because this inmate was from the behavior management unit. He was violent and assaultive to staff, and he created a lot of damage inside the facility. He broke windows inside the medical area. When he got over to the ICU area, the sheriff cut the post down to 1, despite numerous reports that this inmate was assaulted. The next day, he became assaultive to the NUMC staff. The one officer on the post had to try to restrain an inmate that was 6 foot, 340 pounds. And the inmate wound up throwing a bedpan of mucus and blood and other things on the officer. The officer was able to restrain, he was able to call for assistance. We have a lot of problems inside that facility. Just the other day, there was an officer that was choked in the O1 area of the hospital. That inmate that choked the officer was in custody because he broke the jaw of an NUMC nurse over in O1. Now, these problems would not be occurring if Armor was staffing the closed prison ward, because these inmates would be housed in the closed prison ward. They wouldn't be on the open posts inside the hospital. That is the problem we're having. Yesterday, that same inmate that tried choking the officer, there was another use of force with him, and 2 more officers were injured. So we have a lot of problems with the inmate medical care inside there, and it's creating a lot of problems with public safety throughout the jail and also in Norma, right by the hospital. I've met with you before on this. I've met with a lot of people up before on this. Thank you very much. I know everyone's in a rush to get out of here, but we have a lot of problems inside this jail. You cut training, you cut supervision, and now you're cutting medical care. There was a plan in place that the Department of Justice put forward where they built a foundation to improve the conditions inside that jail, and the county threw it out. They had the architect, they had the plans, the foundation was built, and they threw it out. So now we're left with a mess. We've had 2 inmate deaths so far inside this facility. We've had 7 since 2010. Every day, even since the last suicide, you're having more medical emergencies, and they're not responding with the proper equipment. Now, we have the Armor contract. It was signed last year, March 19th. I don't know if any of you looked at it, but you're not getting what you're paying for. They're supposed to respond 24-hour on-call physician, 24-hour nursing coverage, proficiency in use of first aid jump bags, oxygen, AED, other rescue equipment. They're coming with nothing. If we're lucky, we get a wheelchair. If we're lucky, we get a bottle of oxygen. They came with smelling salts one time. The officers are put in a position where they have to provide the care, and that's not good for anyone. They're not trained. They cut the in-service training. They're not providing CPR. They're not providing first aid. They're not providing suicide awareness. You would think a jail that had 5 inmate suicides in the last 2 years, they'd offer a suicide awareness class to staff. No, it's not on the curriculum this year. So these are our problems we're having. I've been here 6 or 7 times already. It seems like I'm falling on deaf ears. You know, like, don't tell me you care and you want to do something about it and not do anything about it. And that's the position we're in right now. The county's answer, they want to hire retired part-time correctional officers. Retired part-time, Joe Polisi, you're retired supervisor, police. Could you come back and work as a correctional officer? Could you control a 6-foot, 340-pound inmate?
Absolutely not.
Well, that's the county's answer. They want to hire retired correctional officers, part-time. So this is where we're at. You know, I sat around here all day. You know, I understand there's more pressing issues, but this problem is not going away, and it's getting worse. And I know you're getting tired of seeing me, but I have to keep coming up here. You know, we're asking you as the legislative body to do something about this. Thank you.